All right. Here's the real deal. Let's get into 2 hours of serial killer.
Let's get it.
No way. Oh my god! No way! Oh my god!
Welcome, everybody, to episode 102 of 1 million of the Serial Killers podcast from the Super Network studio. I am here with Hella Greg in the Super Network bunker, 66.6 feet directly below us. And, as usual, I ask you, how goes it? Hella Greg.
No, I'm feeling great, thank you.
Not feeling all Matthew McConaughey and Dallas Buyers Club.
Right.
Perfect. Well, welcome. It's good to have you. I know you were
great to be here. Well, below here.
Yeah, I know you were seeing a little Elton John last night. Tell me about the experience. Was it legendary?
Yes.
All right.
I was a little bummed he didn't come out in the giant swan glasses,
But other than that,
but it was good. It was really good
I'm
overall.
Glad. All right, Greg. Well, it is good to have you. I'm glad that you got to see a legend. Everybody make sure to follow us any way possible. You can do that on Facebook, Serial Killers Podcast. The Facebook group is of the same name. So is the Instagram and the Gmail account. The Twitter is at Chillers Podcast. You can call or text the show, 1-805-666-2513. SerialKillersPodcast.threadless.com for merch. SerialKillersPodcast.com for stickers and occasional updates. Please rate and review on everything if possible. Patreon.com/SerialKillersPodcast to give as little as $1 a month to the show to help the wheels keep on spinning. If you give $5 a month, you get the new show, Hella Conspiracies, which, if you're listening to this, is already out, and you should be enjoying its second or third episode, so I hope you're enjoying it. Also, there's tons of levels. There's rewards for just about every level, so hop on there, give a little, get a little. We all win in the end. You'd think I wrote that, but really, I'm just like a lyrical wordsmith motherfucking genius. So, we've got a couple. Oh, sorry, I also wanted to thank He Who Seeks Vengeance for the theme song that you heard. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Guest introductions. Welcome back, a couple dudes who've been here 2 times together before and are 1-1 v one another. Welcome back, Bobby and Hunter.
What up?
Hey, how's it going, Greg?
Everything is going good.
I'm hyped. I'm stoked. I'm about to win tonight. I'm being confident right off the bat.
Hype William. So grab some cards. You'll need those.
Cha-ching. Ooh. Right. Okay, it's already starting off good. He shot those cards.
It was my Spider-Man skills you saw last night. I passed them over to you.
But, yeah, because I'm Miles Morales, and I got it.
Oh, okay, there we go.
You know what I'm saying?
I'll be Peter Parker. You're Miles Morales.
There you go. We're good.
Fair enough. I
See?
take
Comic-Con.
that.
You already that's a sign. It's a verbal agreement.
As long as we just can do this one.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right. Well, welcome, dudes. Good to have you. All right, you guys know how the show works. Let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week, I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell the story of an infamous serial killer. Throughout the show, you guys can chime in on my story, and if you brought a story of your own that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. Lastly, if you have questions about questions, make sure to ask questions because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions?
Yeah, why do you sit down with bad friends? Like, why do you bring them back?
So, welcome to and let's play the Serial Killers podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me, have you guys heard of today's killer, George Waterfield Russell?
No, did he have a name? Like a serial killer name?
You can't tell us that. That's going to probably be a question, bro.
It's not. George Waterfield Russell. He did, I think, but it's...
The waterfall.
Okay, so before we roll into the story, I'm going to list off my citations real quick because I'm trying to get in the habit of that. I use a Radford University timeline, information researched and summarized by Adam Paul, Sarah Perkins, Desiree Pitts, and Mark Robertson. Read the book The Charmer, A Ladies' Man and His Victims by Jack Olson. The George Russell Murderpedia page and Wikipedia page. A September 20th, 1991 Seattle Times article titled The Night of the Last Dance Serial Murder Trial focuses on bar visit by Nancy Montgomery. And a September 26, 1991 Seattle Times article How Girl Found Her Mother Dead by Nancy Montgomery. Question number 1. In what year was George Waterfield Russell born?
Easy.
I literally wrote Waterfall right. I was like, his name's not Waterfall. Why did I write
I said Waterfall. I was like, wait, what?
Waterfield?
No, dude, set patch.
In what year is George Waterfield Russell born? Closest to the answer gets 250 points.
All right.
If you can nail it, it's for 1,000. There are 18 questions, if I'm not mistaken, this evening.
All right, let's do it.
All right, what do you got?
What you got, honey?
1949.
49.
1929, son.
29. Hunter's going to get 250 points on this one because George Waterfall Russell was born April of 1958 in Florida. So
Which
pretty close.
to me is weird. He sounds like he should be like a general from the Civil War.
Or like even further back, like, George Waterfield Russell.
To me, it just sounds like General George Waterfield Russell led the troops into battle at the Battle of Gettysburg. That's what it sounds like to me.
It is a very distinguished sounding name.
It is.
Yeah,
is what
it
you're
sounds like
saying.
it's got some clout.
Ooh.
So I will clear up early because a lot of people have told me, sometimes I don't until like the last 5 minutes of a podcast. George Waterfall Russell is a black man.
Oh.
So a rare black serial killer. I think it's only the third
Dang.
time we've covered one.
Exactly, yeah.
So he grows up in a white suburb. We'll talk a little bit about it. But so he's born in Florida, April of 1958. We don't know his exact birthday, so we don't ever have that as a question anymore.
We'll just put it somewhere in the middle of the month. We'll call it like April 20th or something.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't know if I should feel like empowering that the rarity of black serial killers is here, or ashamed that my own kind is killing people like this. So I'm kind of torn.
Bittersweet, I believe.
It is bittersweet, yeah.
You could look at it either way.
At 6 months, his parents separated, and his mother would leave him with his grandmother in Florida while she went and got settled in Seattle. In 1964, at the age of 6, that's right, it took her 5.5 years to get settled, his mother would move him to Mercer Island, a suburb of Seattle, to live with her and her new husband, a dentist named Wanzel Mobley. Wanzel...
Wait. Wanzel Mobley?
It's a dope name. So Wanzel is like very accepting of his new stepson, who is 6 years old. So like he over this 5.5 years had like built a relationship with his mom, and his mom's like, well, listen, I have a kid. I'd like to bring him here to live with us now.
Listen, the last 5 years have been great, but I've got this son, and he's on his way.
like he'll be here
Did not
today-ish.
Oh wait, what?
So no, yeah, Wanzel's very accepting of his stepson. From an early age, he was very interested in detective novels and spy stories. So, like, around 6 years old, like, he's really into things that are, like, maybe not necessarily violent or...
Like a Sherlock Holmes type of thing, man.
Well, like, he definitely, like, like, the Nickel comics, like, the detective comics,
Dick Tracy.
Yeah, like I'm saying, like, not necessarily, like, overtly violent or anything, but, like, not for children. Like,
The Untouchables.
yeah, this kind of stuff.
They still talk about death, but it's not like glorified.
It's that kind of thing. Yeah. So he is super fucking good. Speak of the devil, we were talking about this at games like hide and seek, at anything being sneaky in general. Like when you wanted to find somebody who could be extra sneaky, you went to George. Like he was the sneakiest of dudes.
I could
like,
hide things.
They would always say like in the book they talked about like his friends as kids would say like when you were playing guns with George, it like wasn't even fun because you'd take 2 steps into the trees and you'd hear bang, you're dead, and he would like fall from the tree upside down and be like, I got you, like you're out. Like he was sneaky. He was like super, very sneaky. Sir. Never on the
He was
rest.
born with a real world class.
Yeah,
That's good. That's tight.
So he's like, I mean, we all had that friend who was like, man, how the fuck is he so fast? Like I know he went this way, and then all of a sudden he's behind you. You're like,
yeah.
all right, dude, come on.
That's how it is. I feel it.
So, In 1970, he and some friends sneaked into a waterfront home. It was him and 2 other 7th graders. He did it just to show them that he could do it. They made toast and then left. So, like, it's just like a challenge. He's like, yeah, I bet I can get into a house. And, like, watch, I could, like, make some toast and we'll leave. I don't even take anything. I'm just, watch me. He enjoyed outwitting other boys by seeing who could find his forts in the woods. So, like, he would make these dope forts all solo.
What?
And then, like, hang out in them by himself. Like, apparently it was really popular on Mercer Island because, like, a lot of kids weren't allowed to leave the island, even especially at night. It's like they'd build cool little forts out in, like, the forested areas.
Okay.
And George would build his all mad dope and have, like, cots and, like, you know.
Dang,
Yeah,
architect,
like, you know, exactly. Like, he had some cool stuff going. And he would just hide it and, like, no one could ever find his forts.
Legend. Treasure Island.
Yeah, he would show certain friends, and that was pretty much it. But other than
Those are
that,
the
like
cool
those were
ones.
the untraceable forts. Yeah. The children on the island, I kind of talked about that. George is the most impressive of all fort builders, and when police would come to break up parties or kids running around in the forest or smoking and drinking, anything happening, George was nearly never bothered because he could run to one of his many hidden forts and hide so well. So, like, they said one time in particular there was, like, a party that got extra rowdy, and George went to one of his forts and hid, and the cops were, like, they wanted to get everybody. So they were searching the forest for, like, 2.5 hours, and George just laid low in one of his forts, and they never stumbled upon him.
Just chilling.
In a tree, just 10 feet.
And this
up.
is like at 12 years old.
Tarzan.
Cops walking through the forest and he just hears, bang, got you.
So the police would often stop by to talk with Dr. Mobley about the behavior of his son since he was the man of the house. Dr. Mobley, the stepdad, made clear to police that George was not his biological son, but he would deal with the youth however he could. I mean, I'd probably make clear too, like, whoa, it's just like, I'll take care of him and shit, but like, this fuck up's not mine, not yet. I'm not willing to claim this.
But for the times, yes,
It's
sir,
like,
I'll
I
hit
don't
him.
have to.
Yeah. So it seems that
Right. I don't love him, but I'll hit him.
it seems that Mobley's talk may have shaken something into George. Soon, George, instead of getting into trouble, began ratting out friends. One specific example is some friends stole a guitar from a music shop, so he told the police, and would quickly begin to gain the trust and is considered an insider for said police. He began to hang out with younger kids because he was only about 5 feet tall heading into high school. He and 2 classmates disappeared completely from school one day in the 8th grade, and they didn't come home that night at all. They were found the following afternoon. Question number 2.
Oh, snaps.
How far were the boys when they were discovered? How far away? They left school. They were found the next afternoon.
Next afternoon?
Yeah, was it like a quarter mile? Was it they get on a bus and they're 400 miles away? Where did they find the how many what's the distance? How far did they make?
How far is Florida from Washington?
It's 3,500 miles.
Okay, just curious.
All right, you got something, Bobby?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna get a little crazy. 10 miles.
10 miles.
Oh my gosh, I have 10 miles as well.
They both wrote 10 miles. So what I'll do, since Bobby doesn't have any points left, is I'll give you guys both 250 points.
Oh, the
Instead
pity
of-
points.
Well, instead of giving you both 0,
That's real.
but I
That's
give you
real.
both 250.
Nah. I want to sink both our battleships.
Gets you on the board. No, it's already written, Bobby. I'm not scribbling it out. I'm the host here, buddy.
Damn it.
So the next afternoon, the boys, led by George Russell, are arrested 50 miles away south of Seattle.
They walked that far.
I don't know that they walked. I know that they were discovered 50
That's
miles
crazy.
away. Yeah.
Damn. They must have hitchhiked. That's what I was thinking.
Or took a bus.
Float down a
Yeah,
river.
that's real. It's the
George
50s.
Russell, we're going to talk about and see here, is very resourceful for a child.
MacGyver.
Yeah. So, police notice that he refuses to accept blame or responsibility for any of his transgressions and only tries to talk his way out of it, an early symptom of sociopathy.
Is it though? Because, I mean, I did that. Do that.
But it's like
did
a
that.
conscience kind of thing. Isn't it?
I think it was also like, like you may have talked yourself out of things, but you had a conscience about shit. Like, for sure when, yeah, that's right, I did.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. We'll go with that.
All right. So, yeah, how about we go with possible symptom of sociopathy?
Okay.
then?
Okay.
George, believe it or not, really big fan of guns, which he read all about in his detective magazines. So he and two friends at one point took a bus to the gun exchange in Seattle, like a gun show. We have them here in town all the time.
Yeah, an expo. of some sort.
Then they led George, however he knew about it, leads them to a pornography movie house and snuck in. And this isn't like sneak in through like, oh yeah, I propped a door open yesterday. George led them through like this access maintenance panel. They like climbed up this chute
007s?
into like a ducting, and they like took a panel out in the men's bathroom and lowered themselves down in and went in from the bathroom and went and saw themselves like porn in the porn movie house in Seattle.
Whoa. Hey, you deserve that.
His
You can do
friends
that.
were like super fucking impressed, but also like, how the fuck did he figure this out? And so some other
I like to think he had no idea where he was going. He was just like, you know what? I'm going to open this panel and figure it out from there.
We'll just stick
That's
ourselves
some
in
pretty impressive shit then. The word gets around, and I think it's 4 days later, he and another group of boys go and do the exact same thing. And before they can pop out the panel, one man comes into the stall that they're going to drop down into. So they decided to just wait it out. I mean, it's probably going to stink it up, but, let's not drop down on this guy. But like 30 seconds later, another guy comes in, and the group of 4 12-year-olds sits above them and watches these two men have anal sex in the bathroom of the pornography.
Oh, so they got to see some porn, but not the ones they wanted.
Yeah.
That is
I bet that changed at least one of their lives.
most
I
definitely.
don't think you're wrong. So in May of 1973, at the age of 15, he enters high school as one of the smallest boys in class, around 5 feet, like we said. Question number 3, he had a nickname going into high school. What was it? Is it A, the Fly, B, Tiny, C, the Flea, or D, Big Guy?
Or E, Muggsy Bogues.
Oh,
Okay.
I love Muggsy Bogues.
Same. I don't think you got enough respect as a player.
All right. I choose you. The Flea.
The Flea.
Just D. You think it's big guy?
Big Guy and the Flea are both incorrect. He was nicknamed the Fly.
Is one less correct than the other though?
Both in part due to his size and agility. Also had a few other nicknames, one of which was Chicken George, the Mouth, and Leapin' George.
I like Leaping George.
In 1973, he smokes pot for the first time. All right.
There we go.
He really enjoyed that. And
So did we.
Prior to this, he had been drinking and smoking cigarettes, but now the hippie shit is really
He's
going
into the hard
down
stuff.
Yeah, man.
on Mercer Island.
Started injecting marijuana between his toes.
That's
all
what happened to
flat.
my ankle when he overdosed. So he's not very interested in girls at this time, but he's like very secretive, just kind of about most everything. He's always had this like, he reads these detective comics, so like to him it's like very cool to like
Be mysterious.
be him. Yeah, exactly. He wants to be able to move in and out of people's lives without being noticed.
A drifter.
It's like you're 13, you fuckface. September of 1973, he gets very into CIA and detective stuff. I think that's related, Greg. He is quoted at one point saying to one of his best friends, "People in lighted houses can't see out of their windows. That's important to remember." And his friend was like, "Man, we were 13, and for some reason that just creeped me out, and I remembered it forever."
Oh my god.
Yeah, you can't see out, but you can totally see in.
I know. I
My
know
dad
this.
taught me that when I was a kid.
But it's just such a weird thing to say to your homie at like 13. Be like,
Just
you
turn over to the
yeah,
desk.
Like, at like 8 p.m. at night, just staring into. You don't even look at him and just go, the thing about a well-lit house and an open window, is you can see in, but they can't see out. And he's like reaching over, like rubbing the lobe of his friend's ear. Like, everything's good, man. This is good. This is all good.
His friend's like, you know what, dude, this is a little creepy. After I come, I'm going home.
So he he's creeping his friends out. He gets a little angry when people would call him black. He never idolized black athletes. Yeah, he had a very hateful relationship with every black male that came into his life besides his stepfather.
I feel it.
He was very into the police of like the area. He liked to work with them. He liked to help them out. He despised all of the black cops. Like he didn't think that.
What?
So
He
as
was
like a
Ruckus.
young black man, yeah, Uncle Ruckus is a very good description of this guy. Except for he's a 13-year-old kid and one of his eyes is all bulging and shit.
We don't know that.
So he felt as if he was led on by white girls in his school, but was always turned down by them.
They are kryptonite.
He refused to date black girls. He and his friends would also sneak into a huge concert that he wanted to go to. So this is like a huge thing. His parents would not let him go to rock concerts. It wasn't like
it's by
a
the
thing.
devil.
Well, I don't know if it was so much that. It was like, he says that this is like 1972 and the tickets were $12 a piece.
That's right.
So I imagine that's like a $60 or $70 ticket now. Greg might throw a Google search in there for us, but 1972 is the year. So he tells his friends, like, listen, I'll get us all in for free. But here's how it's going to work: is you're going to show up at 7, you're going to show up at 7:15, you're going to show up at 7:30, and you're going to show up at 8.
All right, who's bringing the grapple hook here?
And so the first guy shows up at 7, and he's like, "What's the plan?"
Storm
and he
the
goes,
gate.
"Like, come this way." And he goes, and he has like
73.65.
so yeah, about $75. You know?
Gosh, bro.
So they like go into the parking garage, and George opens up a bag, and it has like the jacket and shirt you would wear if you were an employee of the venue. And so he and the dude walk in. He gets the one dude in. He walks back out, takes the jacket and shirt that the one friend wore in, gets the other dude at 7:15, comes back out, gets the other guy at 7:30, gets the other guy at 7:45. Yeah.
Genius.
So it's just
Genius.
very resourceful.
Yeah.
Question number 4. What band did they sneak in to see? Is it A, Led Zeppelin, B, The Rolling Stones, C, The Who, or D, Pink Floyd?
What was the name of the island?
Mercer Island. Concert could have been in Seattle, though, Greg. This is only like 5 minutes away from Seattle, if I'm not
Seattle.
mistaken.
Can you say the bands again?
Zeppelin, The Stones, The Who, and Pink Floyd.
All right, I know.
All decent bands. So
Start it off, bro.
all right. I chose Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd.
Damn it, I picked Pink Floyd.
A couple Pink Floyd lovers.
I just think it's the most realistic.
He got resourceful and snuck a few of his friends into a Led Zeppelin.
Damn, you know there are edgier. They were edgier. I'm dumb.
I just like Pink Floyd.
Later, he's going to take pills from his stepdad's dental supplies, and he would share them with his friends before being caught. I say share, but I think he sold them to his
Yeah, I
friends
guess
before
okay,
being
okay.
caught.
Plan.
He also
Donations.
He also got caught possessing marijuana before being caught with it. He also got caught in possession of marijuana a few times. He got into trouble for trespassing in the park, curfew violation, shoplifting, drinking, and popping Valiums.
It's kind of like high school though.
He's in high school. He stole a rare penny from a friend's coin collection and talked his way out of all punishment. In late 1973, his stepdad cheated with a white businesswoman, so his mom and sister went east to Maryland, and he is left with his stepdad. It doesn't seem that there was very much of an option for George to go with his mother, but he was sort of left behind with Dr. Mobley. So Wanzel got dumped with the stepson, who he's constantly being like, "Yo, this is not my son. This is not my son." Because I think the mom was like, "Listen, if you make me take him, I'm gonna fucking kill myself."
The mom was probably like, "Listen, asshole, you both seem to like white women so much. Why don't you show him how it's done?"
I was thinking the same thing. He don't even like us.
So shortly after, the new stepmom moved in, and shortly after that, he would begin hitting on her incessantly. The new stepmom is only 12 years his senior, and he is 16 at this time and full of hormones. So
you
he's
could've seen
16,
too many
she's 28. He's just like, additionally, information was getting back to some of the parents of the high school that rumors were being spread about their children based on information that only police should have. So like small things that kids are getting busted for, whatever, like, oh, this kid got caught with Valium in his pocket. And the parents would be like, yo, can we keep this hush hush? Like, I'm not saying we don't have to punish him, but like, can this not get out? And the cop's like, yeah, whatever. Your kid's a good kid for the most part. Like, let's not make it happen
Bad
again.
choices.
This doesn't have to be a thing,
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, these like stories are all fucking hitting the hallways. But if you'll remember,
He's the snitch.
George is like kind of like a mini informant, and he's like, they see that he doesn't have a good home life. He lives with the stepdad. His mom kind of dipped, so they like give him jobs around the police department. He takes out trash, he cleans out cells. Like
He's trying
it's
to be
a
a
small
junior
town,
cop,
and
though.
that's exactly right. He's been reading detective novels since he was 6. So they've really taken him under his wing. Like it's
They
something
gave
I
him
think,
one of those little sticker badges.
yeah, I
did a
think
good
so. I
job,
mean,
kid.
it's really one of those things I feel like can only happen in a semi-small town in 1973. Like nowadays, it's like, get the fuck out of here, kid. There's a fucking police station. Where the fuck is your mom? Like,
For
the
real.
hell is this shit?
Yeah.
But these guys really took George under their wing and kind of, they understood what he wanted. They understood that he was a little bit of trouble too. We've already talked about it. He's been in like a lot of shit. But they're like, all right, he's still a fucking kid, and we can get him past this. So, at this point, they realized it was George that began to leak all the confidential police reports to other high schoolers at the time to bolster his social standing and just to tarnish the reputation of some of his quote-unquote enemies.
The hit list.
Yeah, this irked the police, who had put a lot of trust into him, so he was not allowed to hang out at the police station anymore.
Oh, this is when it stopped.
They took it away from him at this point.
Yeah.
Yep. In 1974, this begins a downhill fall for George, in which he will continue to cut classes, drink, steal, pop pills, and smoke pot. He becomes a regular in juvenile court and often talks his way out of any punishment due to his charm and clean personal appearance.
So he's up there. The judge is like, listen, we caught you with a bunch of pot. You were hammered and you were just throwing handfuls of pills at people, yelling at that everybody owed you money. And he's like, yes. And he's like, well, what do you have to say for yourself? He's like, come on, judge. It wasn't what it looks like. And the judge is like, damn it. This guy is he's so fucking charming.
Hits the boom box and it's like, I'm sorry.
He's like, you know what? Just go ahead and get out of here. You're gonna keep your nose clean, right?
A little hooligan, like gives him a
you.
noogie.
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely.
Judge Mulligan.
Yeah. So
Get a new judge.
he's getting away with a lot of shit, but doesn't this sound very reminiscent of like just a lot of stories, like so charming that he's talking judges out of getting him in. And I don't think Mercer Island is like it's not a podunk town. It's like upper class.
Oh.
They're very expensive homes. And it's like, I mean, Greg, I actually don't know that I ever saw the population, but you don't have to give me the 70s. Tell me what Mercer Island is up to even right now. I don't think it's gigantic. So he's starting to have a lot of problems. He's in and out of juvenile court. So like
25,300.
now. So in the 70s, I imagine it was less.
It's less. That's really bad.
So that's a small town.
Yeah, that's small.
So when he's like late in his 16th year, he's shipped off of the island to live with Dr. Michael Washington, his stepdad Wanzel's old classmate, because of the very forward advances on his stepmom. So it's getting like gnarly, where like Wanzel's like, dude, like, is this kid gonna rape my wife? Like legitimately, like this is the kind of behavior he's putting forth.
Damn.
So they're like sitting at the kitchen table, and he's like, so what if I get out of the shower and she sees my chest pubes all the way down to my ball fro?
Ball
God
fro.
damn it, Dale.
She thinks to herself, I've had the old bull. Now I want the young stud.
So the reason that Wanzel sends him to Dr. Washington is because he knows that Washington is super fucking tough. He's raised kids, and like tough love is his style, but he really gets results. George didn't much care for this. Question number 5.
He goes for it.
So what did he do?
Yep.
A, did he move back and live on the streets of Mercer Island? Did he B, begin killing sex workers? C, join the military with a fake ID since he's too young? Or D, attempt suicide? Move back and live on the streets of Mercer Island, kill sex workers, join the military, attempt suicide. It's Hunter 500, Bobby 250 at this point. Bobby, what do you say?
I'm saying he's straight up trying to kill himself, boy.
Bobby says D, attempt suicide. Hunter says
B.
B, begin killing sex workers. And again, nobody gets any points
Son of a
on
mo.
this one.
Damn.
I
I mean,
What he does is come back and lives on the streets of Mercer Island as like
Damn.
a professional homeless guy. Remember, he's the guy who like, as
Oh,
Greg
yeah,
may
he
have
can
stated,
get
like he just
anywhere.
like walked into a panel and led up, got into ducts and found his way into the porn
Yeah,
theater at
true.
12. So he would come back to the island. He would victimize some of his old friends and kids that he used to hang out with because some of those kids now are 16, 17, and he's getting a little bit older. He gets back to Mercer Island, victimizes the kids he used to hang out with. He makes them let him, quote, borrow their cars, but would often leave with them for days at a time. He's pretty much always becomes notorious for this, but he always returns it in super fucking good condition with a full tank of gas. That was like one thing that everybody's like, it's really tough because like you let him borrow it.
But then he would like wash it, vacuum it, fill it up, and bring it back.
Yeah.
damn, but it
yeah.
would take a couple of days. Though. It's like-
Yeah.
but just like, is it worth the full tank? Yeah.
This is when gas was like 18 cents a gallon.
That's some bullshit.
I mean, if you,
Guy went in there with $3 and was like, "Here you go." And they're like, "Oh, sure. Anything else? You want a car wash with that?" He's like, "Yeah." Throws another nickel down, and they were like, "Shit."
yeah, I mean, if he cleans my car, oh yeah.
Remember Euro Trip? He's like, you see this? Hey, Nickel, I opened my own hotel.
Excuse me.
That movie gets referenced quite a bit on here.
I love that
I
movie.
fucking love that
The
movie.
movie's
dude.
great. The movie's great.
It's Miami Vice, #1 new show. Okay, so he would threaten the kids that, quote, got out of line and put a stranglehold on a boy once because he, quote, wasn't cooperating, which is what he told the police when they arrived. He was still convinced that he worked for them and told all the people that he came in contact to that he was a secret informer with the police department, and it was a special circumstances position that he could not talk about. So the
That's
police
not
have-
very secret.
Yeah, you're talking about.
yeah, because he's a fucking idiot.
What is he, Archer?
Dude.
No, I'm a secret agent.
It's true, let him to save the country.
So at 17, he's arrested for pot and giving beer to kids. They found a kitchen, and like he's 17 for sure, but like he's
Yeah.
giving beer to 13 and 14-year-olds.
He's like, yo, drink up.
So when they arrest him, they pat him down and find a kitchen knife up each sleeve.
What is he, Assassin's Creed? What's going on here?
I was just gonna say, sounds like Enzo in the
Yeah.
70s.
So because all of his crimes for this, he is put on more probation. In 1976, he's charged with criminal trespass, possession of marijuana, second-degree burglary, possession of stolen property, and nuisance noise for a break-in at a maintenance closet at a factory. So they the police get word that someone's going in and out of this this maintenance. It's like there's nothing in there for anybody but like the one person who fucking services that room.
Yeah.
So the people at the factory are like, there's someone going in there that doesn't fucking belong in there. But then you go in there and there's no one in there. And so the police come out and they scan around and they see there's like a panel that's been loosened, and it's like they said it was like 18 inches square. That was what the guy called it. So not a very big hole.
Damn.
Like at all. And so the cops shine a flashlight through, realize how to get there. They pull a panel off a wall somewhere further down the line, and they find a rolled up sleeping bag, several books, flashlights, candles, and it all belongs to a man they've just apprehended leaving the room named George Waterfield Russell. So, like I said,
That reminds me of the Community episode where like the chipmunk or something was living in the ducks, or was it Chang or something?
oh yeah,
It's like, what the?
Oh, you mean Annie's boobs living in the
yeah,
living in the air
Annie's
duct?
boobs.
Yeah, dude.
So they arrested him and they hit him with all those charges above for living within that maintenance closet panel.
Oh my gosh.
At 18, he is tried in a district court and sentenced to 3 days in King County Jail for this crime.
He talked his way out of that.
Question number 6. Did he? How long would he actually stay in jail during his 3-day sentence? So you could say 0 if you think he talked his
Yeah.
way out of it. So you can give hours, seconds, negative time, days,
Negative time.
months. He gets a 3-day sentence. How long does he actually stay in jail?
I feel like I'm not playing smart, but this is fun for me.
All right, Bobby, what do you say?
I said 6 hours in booking.
6 hours, says Bobby. Hunter says 30 minutes. Both very short, not even close guesses, but Bobby's going to get the points
Yeah.
because While he is in jail, he reoffends and is given an additional 4 days,
What
reoffends
the
once more, and given an additional 32 days to give him 39
He just
days
triple
total.
whammied himself.
He fucking 13 times whammied himself. For his 3-day sentence, he'll serve 39 days in jail. So 250 points to Bobby makes it a 500 to 500 game through 6 of 18. We're a third of the way through, and we've got a tie.
You're my rival.
So eventually he's going to get out of that 39-day fucking 3-day sentence, and he would technically drop out of high school, due in large part to how much school that he had missed already and how much he just really didn't care. After the dropout, he would hold nothing but unsteady jobs, dependent on petty theft and other misdemeanors. He, quote, borrowed a Jag after midnight from a childhood friend, Tom Hager. When caught, borrowed means he went into his house and stole it without permission.
I wanted you to say Tom
Tom
Sawyer
Hager
somehow.
put together a complete dossier of arrests, convictions, and everything he'd gotten away with since junior high, and gave it to the police. Like, look, this is what we're fucking dealing with. This motherfucker came to my house. Here, just so you don't miss anything, this is what he's been up to. And he gets 35 days for the theft of the car. So this is like a week out of him spending 39 days in. He gets 35.
That makes me think of The Simpsons again.
Yeah?
I'll be back on the street in 12 hours. Nah. Or I'll be back on the street in 24 hours. Nah, we'll try to make it 12.
So after he's released, he goes back to Tom's house several times and steals silver dollars, clothes, and other small items. He had a big problem, again, with taking and riding other people's cars. And at this point, he's not bringing them back full, clean, and detailed. He's doing a lot of crashing. He crashes a vehicle like 5 or 6 times throughout his time here. And 2 or 3 of them are like major accidents. Again, he's also a career petty criminal in a fairly small town. But, like, what do you do? He obtained a police scanner and punched in all the local channels so he could listen to what was going on as he was committing his crimes. They said a lot of times they'd pull up to, like, a burglary in progress, and all of a sudden, like, they would pull up and George Russell would be running down the street with a police scanner at his ear. And he'd be like, oh, no, I was just coming to check out the action. Like, it was... Every time they pull up to a robbery or something, that was his deal.
He's like that guy that Jake Gyllenhaal played in that movie.
Oh, yeah, the Nightcrawler.
No, not X-Men.
So he's going to rob the same house 3 or 4 times, but just take small stuff. And the police said that people would, like, okay, so this is how small.
No.
People would say, okay, like, I went to bed last night and I had $40 in my wallet. I woke up this morning and I only have $20 in my wallet and my back door is open. Another woman called and said that she had a super sentimental Mickey Mouse watch that is really worth not a bunch, but like to her it's worth a ton.
Yeah, I mean,
but
probably
it was
now.
sitting in a tray next to her very expensive, very large wedding ring, and only the Mickey Mouse watch had been taken.
He knows what he wants. He's a very piggy burglar.
Probably knew the person.
I think he doesn't want to like burn those other people. That's why he would like fill a car up and detail it and bring it back. And that's why he's only taking $20. Like, here, you get one, I get one.
Police are afraid of this rash of, quote, unsolved burglaries, but they were near positive it was George. It was less about the stealing and more about sexual gratification some of the police worried about. So this is like a really big thing with like people like this, is just like violating someone's personal space. If you can get in at 2 a.m. and just stand over their bed, like, imagine how powerful that would make me feel. Like, that's like in their head what they're like, dude, I can get in, like, and
So
you
there's
wouldn't
just,
even
like,
hear me.
There's just 2 Seattle cops standing there in 5?
Yeah,
76 going, oh yeah, kid does it so he can come.
pretty much. So he impersonated a cop one night at a bar to one of the bartenders in an attempt to get free drinks. The bartender recognized him and immediately called the police. He spent
Shouldn't you not be drinking if you're in uniform, officer?
Shut up. No, you.
I'll arrest you.
So he gets in trouble for this and spends some more time in jail. He's going to spend short stretches of a day, 2 days, a week over the next few months. So he's becoming obviously very regular to jail. In the jail is where he has problems because, like, out in normal people's society, he's the fucking asshole. When he gets to jail, he's faced with some pretty tough dudes. And he's called an Oreo by a lot of the black inmates because he talked and acted white and mostly made friends with the white inmates that would accept him. as most would not, and he didn't want to associate with black inmates. So most of the white guys are like, I can't be friends with the black guy in jail. Like, sorry, man. That's just not. Even if they wanted to, it's like, I can't. I gotta hang out with KKK. They're protecting my life.
Yeah.
And the black guy's like, fuck this Oreo. He doesn't want to be fucking friends with the black guy. So he had to make friends with the very small section of white guys who would be friends with the black guy, who wasn't friends with the other crazy white guys, who was
Very
like
hard.
also cool with the yeah.
Hey, dude, I get it, bro. I get it a little too much.
So after all of this, he's released from his final mini stint, and he was hired as assistant manager by a friend of his. His friend is, I think,
Wait, yeah,
in my
hired
opinion,
in
like,
prison?
like he gets out.
Oh, okay.
And I think his friend is like, I'm gonna help this motherfucker turn his life around. I'm gonna give him a decent job, making some decent money. And I think so. He gives him like this assistant manager job at Teen Disco. That's a dance place for kids. Yeah, like think 16 and up, like dance place.
Not a good recipe.
It's called Tonight's the Night, or TTN. He would have the job only a few months before he would lose it. Question number 7. For what reason did he lose the job? Was it A, he lost his temper at an employee? B, he was grossly underqualified? C, he was caught stealing on the job? Or D, he would not show up for shifts?
Damn.
Lose his temper, underqualified, caught stealing on the job, just didn't show up. It's a 500-500 tie here.
All right.
What do you say?
Okay. He just didn't show. He's like, nah, screw this.
Bobby said he pulled a Bobby.
I show up just late.
And Hunter said, see that he's caught stealing on the job. But
Oh no.
he loses his temper with a female attendee who questioned his authority. So that's why he lost his job. However, and no bonus points for this, it would later be found that he had stolen thousands of dollars from Tonight's the Night. And
No, it doesn't count, bro.
it was like after 2 years that it was noticed. One night, while intoxicated, he wrecked his car, and then so he wrecks the car. All right, the first car to show up is a police car. The police car pulls up, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Like, my car was stolen. I just like happened to drive up on it right here. It's fucking crashed, which sucks, but like at least I have my car back." And the cop's like, "Yeah, but where's the car you were driving?" And he's like, "Yeah, but like,
I was taking a midnight jog.
like, shut up, you know." And then she says something else, and he goes, it was a woman cop. He goes,
Yeah.
"You're lucky. If I had a gun, you'd be dead."
He said that to the woman cop?
Yes.
Oh, no.
So no criminal charges are brought about this, but it's definitely something that's written in the report.
that is a red
He's got a
flag.
rap sheet that's a mile long at this point. And from 1978 to 1981, through his 20s, he has another car accident. During this time, his stepmom went to court with him, and she blamed his bad behavior on when his biological mom left. So she said that he deserved another chance. The second time where he could remember. First time he was only 6 months old. So
But he felt it.
yeah, he did.
He didn't have her till he was like 5, so you know.
6, yeah, 6 months to 6 years.
Damn.
But this is the stepmom that he's like mad hitting on. She comes down to like put her neck out for him because he got his license taken away for all the
Because
accidents.
maybe he succeeded a little bit.
Maybe, I don't know. So she essentially went down to like vouch for him that he should get another chance to get his license
what
back.
a nice lady.
George thought it was a stupid idea to even like throw his mom under the bus like that. But we're here with like his mom, his stepmom, whom he had personally terrorized over the last couple years, and she's just there to defend him. So
Well, he's only been nice to her because he's hitting on her, right?
yeah, I don't know if that's that nice.
I disagree.
Maybe she thought that. I'm not saying I think that.
Hard no. So he tried to break into Tonight's the Night club owner car. So what he did was he goes, all right, I know that he's gonna take the deposit and he's gonna take it to this bank. So what George does is he goes and he sticks toothpicks in the deposits. Like, you ever taken a night drop deposit? You ever worked retail or anything? Like, you go, you turn the key, you're able to open the deposit box, you drop it in, you close it, you take your key back. You can't just open it without the key.
You never let me do that.
So we had an armored truck at Active. When you do that, you got to have the key and it's got to be working. So what George did was he went and he put toothpicks in the key or in the lock and he snapped them all off in there. So you're not able to do it. So he knew that if he did that, the owner of Tonight's the Night would take his deposit home and just probably leave it in his car. Like, nobody's gonna know there's $15,000 in the car or whatever. So
Smart, yo.
yeah, what else sucks? I just totally blew the answer to a question. So we're gonna skip question number 8. There's 15 grand in the car.
I bet if you kept rolling, they probably wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah. You're so right.
Fucking Streisand affected it.
But I'm actually
40
really
grand.
cool.
I didn't want to give any. I didn't want to just give one away in such a close battle right here, though. Oh,
Dude.
500 through 7.5 questions.
I
Paul.
literally,
Sorry about that, dude.
I'm thankful though. Thank you, because
yeah.
I would have listened to it back and been like, I'm stupid. I heard it.
As soon as I was saying it, I was like, why am I saying this? So he goes, he does the toothpicks and just waits. He goes and waits by the owner's apartment. The guy gets home, goes up to his apartment. George almost immediately goes to the car, tries to break in. Somebody sees him trying to break in, calls the police. The police are nearby. They swoop in. They catch George like on a bicycle driving away.
Instant 3 stars.
Yeah, so he's caught leaving the parking lot of the owner's car. Although the owner could not make the deposit, he had taken it inside of his home instead of the car. But George had successfully gotten into the car, but had not found the money. He is arrested with a large knife with paint suspected to be matching to the car that he had broken into, and a pocket full of broken toothpicks.
My God.
Yes.
He kept the broken toothpicks.
I guess he kept them in his pocket, man.
He's
Break
going
up
to
half.
frame him later.
So he's taken down, and like at this
Waste
point,
not, want not. That's what I always say.
we're like into his 20s, and remember he was like a kid when he was like really close to the police station. So we're at this like changing of guard kind of time where there's still the old guard who like, although they kind of gave him the boot, they still like are sympathetic towards him. They still like see him as a troubled kid. They can help. He's into his 20s now, and there might not be any helping him. But then there's a lot of these rookie cops who like went to high school with him, and they like know him growing up, and they're not fucking taking any shit from this psychopath.
Yeah.
And the cop who arrests him this night is like that guy. He's like, fuck this, fuck that. Turn around, put your fucking hands behind your back. This isn't a goddamn joke. You're not talking away. Talk all you want. You do it in the back of a car. We're going downtown.
You can talk all you want, but everything you say can and will be held against you.
Yeah, pretty much. Like this guy was super cop. Like they
That's
said
tight.
in the book, it said that this officer was like, he had like an especially tough life, like related to crime. His family had like been just fucked over by it. So it was like a superhero story. And his like whole philosophy was like, listen, I just arrest the guys who do crimes, as many as I can, and I let like it get sorted out. So his whole thing was like arrest first, ask questions later.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Probably just like, George, I remember you used to sell me volumes in high school, you idiot.
he might have just also been an asshole too.
Could have been.
He's like, I know those were aspirins, dick. So they take George to the police station, and they put him in like this holding room on the first floor, and they hear a loud crash, and they run into the room, and it turns out that in just a few moments, George was able to break the window, and then we're talking window with the chicken wire in it, break the window, get under the chicken wire, and escape through a hole that the officer who arrested him said, quote, a hole that was made for a rabbit. Like it's just like he held his hands up and was like, it was this big. We're talking the Fly. This guy's 5'1", 120 pounds, like tiny little guy, he's slippery, and he's so great at hide and seek. And he, in 30 seconds, breaks a window, gets under the chicken wire. Yeah, that's seriously like he's fucking ridiculous. So during this time, he evades police on 2 foot chases, a helicopter chase, and 3 canine
Did he know parkour?
chases. Maybe.
He probably yelled it out.
Hardcore parkour.
Yeah, you have to yell it out for it to work.
He finally got caught and arrested and is convicted of his first felony of his life, escaping custody. So it wasn't even a felony until he jumped out the window. He's sentenced to 10 months in county jail. While he is in jail, his younger stepbrother is born. And George is jealous to find out that his brother has very light skin, like his stepmother and stepfather. George is very dark skinned.
Yeah, I can hear it in his actions.
He always really hated that. And
damn.
And he's got this like, sweet caramel family around him, and he's the like standout.
I don't like how much this is relatable. As a kid, as a kid growing up, this is crazy.
So also at this time in his mid-20s, I think he kind of went to the old guard and asked for one more chance. Said like, look, I know I've done bad shit, but that puts me in with them, and I'm ready to help and do good shit. So
Make
he gained,
me a cop.
Yes, yeah. So he gained a little trust back with the police and helped police with certain stings. He helped to set up drug sellers and buyers, and also did credit card stings and phone tips into Crime Watch for the cash. He was a con, and they wanted to use it to catch more cons. I don't think they found him very dangerous at this time. Because, I mean, look, most of his crimes are like...
Yeah.
He
They
breaks
kinda
in,
pity him, you know?
yeah, and he steals dumb shit. Like, they're property crimes. They're all property crimes.
Yeah.
Which isn't cool. Don't fucking break into people's
Yeah,
houses. But he
seriously.
hasn't even, like, really beat anybody up.
Yeah,
He's
he
just
just took a
breaking in and
toothbrush.
taking,
He just
silver
did.
dollars and Mickey Mouse watches.
It's like this could be sold for a lot later.
So he starts to, like, kind of get known, maybe because of himself, like, as somebody who works for the police again. And, like, again, he's just
you can't James Bond yourself. It doesn't work in real life.
Yeah. So he's using this position of little to no power to start using younger kids for sex.
Oh,
So
there it
again,
is.
he's in his like mid-20s. He's back into like the 13, 14-year-olds. He's showing a fake badge and often using made-up stories. From 1982 to 1985, he would have an on-again, off-again relationship with a few 14-year-olds. He never would disclose how old he was to them during the time he was between about 27 and 28. A lot of them always knew he was older, but one specifically said she pegged him for closer to 20, which is still not very tight at the time, but he may have looked it and he was really, closer to 30.
And he was charming.
He was very secretive. He would often spend entire nights in her room, often not doing anything. Later, he would perform oral sex on her and make weird, perverse comments about, quote, drinking her juices. Later, he would perform... he asked her to perform oral sex on him, and she did and didn't mind at first, but claimed that after that, he forced her to perform oral sex on him every time that they were with one another.
Oh, shit.
During their relationship, he's arrested for stealing a TV, lottery tickets, and selling beer to minors, and he is sentenced to 30 days in jail. He admitted in letters to his girlfriend while in jail that he had tried to leave his younger sister at a gas station when he was younger. So, like, the younger sister that his mom left with, like, one time they were on a road trip, and he's like, I tried to just leave her at a gas station, and we tried to just go.
Go check out those pack of chips real quick.
So, he claims that to her. And even though he praised his younger sister now like royalty. So he's given this 30-day sentence. Question number 9, similar to one earlier. 30-day sentence. How long of this 30 days will he spend in jail?
I got my mind all racing because of the last one. Yeah, let's just go with it. I'm going to go with it. Hey, you start this one, man.
All right, Hunter, what do you got?
I got 36 days.
I want to say 15 days.
Bobby says he was on good behavior.
Yeah, I think he was trying to, like, do some shit so he can come back out.
Hunter thinks he fucks up a little bit, but not too much. Let me finish doing this.
Make a clip of that. You can.
He ends up spending 7 months in jail.
Damn it.
Hunter gets another 200.
So like,
I mean, that's still pretty
like
far.
7 times what he was sentenced to.
He's just like
He knows how to
fucking up.
multiply,
Every day,
bro.
like
Damn
13
it.
times the last time, 7 times this time.
I think he likes
my
being in jail at this
gosh.
point. Like, what the fuck?
Free food.
While in jail, he writes letters to his 14-year-old girlfriend talking about marriage and wanting to be with her forever, and also about weird anal sex fantasies with her. Now, the girl,
People
the
check
girl
those
said-
letters.
The girl said this is no, like, because she came out and like showed the letters later on when he becomes famous for different things. She was like, that was not anything that we did. That was like a very new thing to me. And she's like, now I'm realizing that he's 5 months into this 30-day sentence, and like, those are the type of things that people do in prison.
Yeah.
To one another. So she
Oh,
was
he
like
got
super.
rammed.
She was like super grossed out about it, assuming that that was what was taking place because that's about the time that the letter started to turn to that.
Sweet cherry pie.
So also at this time, he's been in for I think it's like 3 months or something, and she realizes that she is pregnant. On May 18th,
All these twists.
she would also have an abortion. On May 18th, 1987, he's released from jail after 7 months. 5 weeks later, he pleaded guilty to a charge of criminal trespass and possession of a dangerous weapon and spent 5 days in jail and underwent a psychological counseling. So he takes an MMPI. The MMPI is the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. It is a psychological test that assesses personality traits and psychopathology. It is primarily intended to test people who are suspected of having mental health or other clinical issues.
It seems like they should have tried these tests like a long time ago.
Yeah, but he kept talking his way out of going in it.
You're right. You're right.
So the results of George Russell's MMPI said that he is self-centered, limited in capacity to form deep interpersonal relationships, quite impulsive, demonstrates poor judgment, has little patience or frustration tolerance, takes risks, and often rebellious towards authority figures, and has trouble incorporating traditional standards and values of society into his own life, and is diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder.
All that stuff is spot fucking on.
Yeah.
All that stuff is spot on.
That's a good test, yo.
I
How do I take the MMPI?
well, I don't
You don't know that you want to?
I don't know how I feel about that though. Like I don't
You
think
learned
I'm
some
an
shit about
antisocial
yourself you didn't know.
personality. Am I?
I don't know. Is this your results?
Oh,
Like you said, impulsive. Yeah.
Here, let me
Like-
read it again for you. Self-centered, limited in capacity to form deep interpersonal relationships. Quite
Oh, shit.
impulsive.
Got it.
Demonstrates poor judgment.
Oh yeah.
Has little patience or frustration tolerance.
Yes.
Like, oh, read it faster! Takes risks, is often rebellious towards authority figures,
that's totally great.
and has trouble incorporating traditional standards and values of society into his own life. Yes, he'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
you can probably get some benefits for that shit, bro. Like you get like a parking spot or something.
So
yeah,
Greg,
but now I've got questions.
Greg might have just been diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder.
I feel like I need to talk to someone.
So the following year, he's out of jail, still floating around Mercer Island as a weird homeless guy, crashing on couches when he can, doing his damn thing. He gets banned from Denny's for stealing tips from a friend that worked there. She had just stashed her tips and noticed that George saw her do it. She served one table and felt uneasy, so went to her waitress station to check on it, but it was gone. She had put $28 in a Crown Royal bag and was gone 3 minutes. She noticed George see her put it in there.
Yeah.
Comes back because she's like, George is kind of a fucking mess, man. And it's gone. So a police officer walks in right then, and she's like, oh my God, fuck yes. George just stole my fucking tips. Like, please help me. So in the book, the police officer is like, man, I fucking shook him down. Like, I did everything but turn him upside down. I checked the bushes. I checked on the roof. I checked the parking lot. Like, I had him waiting an hour while I looked for this. He's like, it was nowhere. He said that he just knew somehow in the time that George had stashed the cash and would later be back for the measly $28.
Yeah.
1988, he is hired at the Nintendo Arcade USA. In
Damn
a
it.
relatively short amount of time, he is able to steal a relatively decent amount of money before being caught up. Question number 10. Over an 8-month period, how much money was George able to steal from the Nintendo Arcade? 8 months.
What year is this?
This is 1988. All right, Bobby, how much money did you say that he took?
I say he stole 250, but the 2500 style.
$2,500?
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
I'm like,
I'm sorry, I got to a character right there. I don't know what happened.
All right, what'd you say?
I said he took 13,000.
13,000.
My gosh.
Hunter's gonna get the points.
Shit.
That's a
I actually
long
looked
time.
over and I saw you had a number 3,000, and I thought you nailed it because he stole in the 8 months $23,000 from the Nintendo Arcade USA.
Gosh.
So Hunter's gonna get another 250 points there.
I'm gonna come back.
He's
What-
up
already
1,000
given up.
to 250.
Oh, no, come
That
on.
ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. 1,000? Let's get this.
After
Which
he is,
is in today's money is $49,880.
so he stole like 50 grand from
My
this
gosh,
very
Nintendo.
popular arcade.
That's like a
Like,
salary. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like a huge salary.
Yeah.
You know, I think before we go on this break, I'm going to say I'm humbling myself because I came into this really hot and habanero fiery, and that's what's making me lose.
Good job.
We're not quite at break. We're coming up to it.
Okay,
I promise.
well, after the break, you're going to see a new
A
Bobby.
new Bobby's a second half player. That's
Yep.
what he's on.
His halftime show.
So after he gets caught stealing the $23,000, he actually does not do any time in jail, but he does become a born again Christian.
Oh, we found God. Okay.
In 1989, he moves in with blue-eyed Mindy Charlie and later began physically abusing her. She was very trusting in him that he worked very covertly with the police. He had a very convincing story. The book goes deep into their relationship, but essentially she was unfortunately very manipulated by him. He would use his job as a way to cheat on her and even go as far as to have women over in the apartment they shared together. She noticed that he showed a heavy interest in the Green River murder case by Gary Ridgway and 49 victims. He went to the King County Jail for 5 days for drug charges and said to have committed around 60 burglaries in Kirkland and the surrounding areas in his time there. On February 20th, 1990, he is arrested for domestic assault once he was out, and Charlie would finally be able to escape the relationship. He had blown up at her at her work, which was Black Angus. On March 21st, 1990, he went to court for the domestic charges, and the very same day, he was banned from the Black Angus restaurant where Charlie worked. Let's take a break here because shit's going to get a little murdery.
Oh, shit.
Come back. Hella Greg's got something for us.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll finish up with the story of George Waterfall Fuckface.
Yeah.
And, come back.
It's going to get murdery.
Oh, real murdery. Come back or we'll kill you.
Hi, I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Bree.
And together we are Death & Co. Podcast.
Join us each week as we talk about all things death related.
We'll look at everything from the afterlife to ways people die to death in other cultures. But don't worry, it's not all existential dread.
There will be plenty of laughs to distract you from your inevitable doom.
Check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Death & Co. Podcast.
And download and subscribe today on your favorite podcast platforms. Bye.
So hey, how about this? Welcome back, everybody, to episode 102 of the Serial Chillers podcast. Hella Greg is pre-roll fired up, so I needed to just get this thing rolling so he can take this into a Hella Greg segment and bring you question number 11 at some point, I'm sure. All right. So, what do you got?
I'm bringing. This is. We were talking about the Freedom of Information Act earlier on the break, and this is from the Freedom of Information Act. This is a handbook put out by the CIA called A Study of Assassination. And what it is it's the CIA's manual on how to kill people. So,
but boom,
There has to be one.
yeah, well, yeah, it's their handbook. It's their. This is like, okay, here's what you do. This is what you want to. You want to be like you want to be fucking James Bond. You want to be out there all Stan Smith and the CIA. This is what you got to know.
but they put out a book to the public?
No, they put out a book to the CIA, and then in
okay.
2007 or in 1995, it was declassified.
The farm.
Oh.
So, question number, what was it, 11?
Yep.
Question number 11. What was the estimated date that this was originally published for use in the CIA?
For use in the CIA, okay.
So you want a date or do you want a year?
I want a year, because it does say estimated year that it was published. So they don't really know, and I have some thoughts, and I'll get into that. After you guys.
Greg gets into stuff.
All right.
I try to give a little history, a little background.
All right, I'll let you guys just tell Greg verbally.
You go, Hunter.
All right, I said 1937.
37.
I said 92.
92. Okay.
1992.
Well, I think, Hunter, you're probably going to get it.
I was looking like pre-World War II.
Well, so it's interesting you say that. Well, the answer is 1953.
Okay, that's
Um,
actually.
Mother.
Now,
what's the score?
the CIA didn't exist pre-World War II.
Oh shit.
At the beginning of World War II, they had what they called the Office of Strategic Services, or the OSS, and it changed names. It changed names a few times before they finally settled on the CIA.
Bobby's like, yo, I've played video games with that shit.
Yeah. I think it might have been Spy Kids.
Splinter Cell.
I've been reading this book, or I say reading. I've been listening to this book called Surprise, Kill, Vanish, and it's all about like secret operations and like clandestine organizations throughout world militaries, and it's been pretty fucking cool so far. But yes, this is the Study of Assassination. This is a transcript of their manual. There's a preface. I'm not really going to bother you with the preface. It just talks about, hey man, like we use this to kill people. This is the plan. Like kill people, but like be discreet.
Also, like, don't show anybody this.
Yeah.
Don't say
So,
with the U.S. government.
I'm going to hit you with some definitions. I highlighted some stuff that I thought was important. I know you can't see the highlights, but I'll make sure to mention when I get to the highlight stuff. Before I continue.
All right, that's lit.
Smoky man.
Setting a scene here. So the definition of assassination is a term thought to be derived from hashish, a drug similar to marijuana, said to have been used by Hassan ibn Sabah to induce motivation in his followers, who were assigned to carry out political and other murders, usually at the cost of their lives.
When you got that kill, got that
So
loud.
that's where assassination came
like
from. However,
suicide mercenaries.
kinda like
So like
kill this guy and
stoners,
then
suicide
like,
mercenaries.
if you come back, like basically you chickened out.
I see.
And however, here it's used to describe the planned killing of a person who is not under the legal jurisdiction of the killer, who is not physically in the hands of the killer, or who has been selected by a resistance organization for death, and whose death provides positive advantages to that organization. So killing somebody that you're just angry at is not an assassination. Killing somebody for political gain is assassination.
I was gonna say that's very specific. I don't think I realized how specific that was.
Yeah, that's like an organization. Of
Like me
psychopaths.
assassinating you or me killing you would not be an assassination, even if I did it like all cool while you were driving down the street.
I came down on a rope and killed him. Come on.
Splinter Cell on that ass.
Hung upside down from a tree and went, bang, I got you.
It's a good stand-up comedian.
Topical.
Yeah. Seasoning. You're seasoning us.
So they had to be real specific about this stuff because there's laws in place. Like you can't be operating in an allied country during a time of peace and doing information gathering. You know what I mean? Like that's if they're an ally, that country is supposed to like share their information with you. So you can't legally be in their country gathering information. You can't legally be in their country spying on them either.
Yeah, you get what you get. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like so like there's rules. You can't do this, you can't do that. You got to abide by these rules. And organizations like the OSS and the CIA and the NSA and like all these organizations, Department of Justice mostly, has been fucking with these rules for a long time. And like I like to call it the Bill Belichick effect, where when they get caught, they're like, damn, well, that wasn't in the rules, but we'll go ahead and add that now. Like, there was no rule that said I couldn't use a drone to watch your practice, but now there is, so I'm going to come up with something else. You know what I mean?
Innovative.
Like, and that's kind of how the government's playing this, which makes sense because, Bill Belichick is the
Biggest
coach.
gang in the world.
Patriotism means America, American government. It's all tied together. It's all one big conspiracy.
What big conspiracy?
Nah, we're very looked down upon for doing stuff like that. Quite
Oh,
often.
yeah. And we're not the only ones.
That's true.
We're just the ones who are like, look what we do.
Yeah, we just like showboated. Like, hey, yeah, we're sneaky.
We're hella good at it.
So, as far as assassination goes, the employment of assassination is an extreme measure and not normally used in clandestine operations. It should be assumed that it will never be ordered or authorized by any U.S. headquarters, though the latter may, in rare instances, agree to its execution by members of an associated foreign service. This reticence is partly due to the necessity for committing communications to paper. Now, I highlighted this part. No assassination instructions should ever be written or recorded. Consequently, the decision to employ this technique must nearly always be reached in the field, at the area where the act will take place. Decision and instruction should be confined to an absolute minimum of persons. Ideally, only one person will be involved, and no report may be made, but usually the act will be properly covered by normal news services whose output is available to all concerned.
That's super vague, but at the same time, it says don't tell anybody. Like,
Yeah, don't tell anybody. And like the only two people who know that person's going to be killed is the person who ordered the kill and the person who killed him.
It's like, why are they ordering the kill? Who decides that? That's very
and that's
stated.
now according to this book I'm listening to, they say it's executive orders, and that's another thing. Like the names have changed. It used to be called executive order, or now it's called, or was called executive orders, but before that it was called like presidential markings. And I mean, it had a bunch of names that have changed over the years because, like I said, they're trying to stay one step ahead of everybody else. And then once your code gets broken, you got to come up with a new code, so they got to change the name. And basically every president since Truman has had, or no, I'm sorry, since Eisenhower has had a different name for.
Do they get to pick the names? Because when I become president, I kind of want to pick the name. We'll talk about that later.
From the way it sounds, you don't pick shit. The CIA tells you what's up.
Oh, it's like you are the one being the puppet still.
Yeah, so I've always said the president doesn't have any real power. They're just a figurehead.
Well,
but
I can see that.
There's no consequence if it's not the
But
president.
they have what's called plausible deniability, so it stops things from getting back to you. Where like if Jesse's the president and he orders an assassination on another dictator, and I go and carry it out, he has no idea who I am or the fact that I even exist. He doesn't know who took the order. He doesn't know how the order got to me. He said this needs to happen. It happened. That's all. And even still, he just says something needs to be done, and the call is made somewhere else down the food chain.
That's pretty good covering of the tracks.
It is. It's designed to be that way. As far as justification, it says murder is not normally justifiable. Self-defense may be argued if the victim has knowledge which may destroy the resistance organization if divulged. Assassination of persons responsible for atrocities or reprisals may be regarded as just punishment. Killing a political leader whose burgeoning career is clear and present danger to the cause of freedom may be held necessary. But assassination can seldom be employed with a clear conscience. Persons who are morally squeamish should not attempt it. So what they're saying is, if you've got a conscience, you're in the wrong business.
This is not your shit. I keep forgetting this is an instruction manual.
Well, and also they're saying, like, remember, this. It's not like pull the trigger and this goes away. Like, this is going to be in the news. You're going to be confronted with the face of this person that you assassinated, because they're not, like Greg said, you're not just going and killing, Karen Smith because she was a bitch to some guy in traffic and nobody knows about it. You're killing political figureheads or revolutionary leaders or
like scientists,
the Fidel Castros and the Che Guevaras,
like actually change history. That's tight.
Yeah, the Muammar Gaddafis and shit like that. Like,
makes you think, okay,
bro. So they have classifications here. It says the techniques employed will vary according to whether the subject is unaware of his danger, aware but unguarded, or guarded. They will also be affected by whether or not the assassin is to be killed with the subject. Want me to read that last part again? They will also be affected by whether or not the assassin is to be killed with the subject.
You can order that. Hey, I want you to die too, just so it doesn't get back to me.
That's some Genghis Khan shit right there. When Genghis Khan was buried, they had a funeral procession march him to they built his tomb, and then he ordered them all killed before he died. So they built the tomb, then he killed them all, and then they buried him in the tomb after he died, and then all the guards that buried him were killed.
Like sealed inside, right?
Well, executed and then sealed. Some were sealed inside because they had to execute the ones that sealed them in.
So wouldn't get grave robbed?
So nobody knew. Nobody knows. So if the assassin is to die with the subject, the act will be called, quote unquote, lost. If the assassin is to escape, the adjective will be, quote unquote, safe. It should be noted that no compromises should exist here. If the assassin must not fall alive to enemy hands. So basically, if you're fucked, you're fucked. You better die, because if you survive and you talk, we're gonna kill you.
Oh yeah, we're gonna make it. Yeah, we already know that. We already got the history lesson in that one.
Yeah, so we talked about like Leonard Lake, how he used to keep the cyanide capsules in his shirt and his false tooth.
Yep.
Same thing. Like these guys have that. That's a real thing because they are not to be captured. A further type division is caused by the need to conceal the fact that the subject was actually the victim of assassination rather than an accident or natural causes. If such concealment is desirable, the operation will be called, quote unquote, secret. If the concealment is immaterial, the act will be called, quote unquote, open. While if the assassination requires publicity, to be effective, it will be termed, quote, terroristic.
Jesus.
So those are the three. So right now we have 5 designations. We've got, what is it? Lost and safe, and then open, secret, and terroristic. So it says, following these definitions, the assassination of Julius Caesar was safe, simple, and terroristic, while that of Huey Long was lost, guarded, and open. Obviously successful secret assassinations are not recorded as assassinations at all. Caesar may have been the victim of a safeguarded secret assassination. Chase assassinations usually involve clandestine agents or members of criminal organizations.
Jesus.
So, yeah. So under the assassin, it says the assassin needs the unusual qualities of clandestine agent. He should be determined, courageous, intelligent, resourceful, and physically active. If special equipment is to be used, such as firearms or drugs, it is clear that he must have outstanding skill with such equipment. Except in terroristic assassinations, it is desirable that the assassin is a transient in the area, and he should have absolute minimum contact with the rest of the organization. And then I highlighted this part. and his instructions should be given orally by one person only. So one person gets to make the call whether or not this terrorist act happens. His safe evacuation after that is absolutely essential, but here again, contact should be limited as possible. It's preferable that the person issuing instruction also conduct any withdrawal or covering action which may be necessary. So there's one person in charge of like, hey, here's the bomb, you go blow it up, make sure this guy dies, and I'll make sure you get out. Don't talk to anybody else. You just me. You got to put all your faith and all your trust in that one guy sitting in a van waiting to get you out of there or whatever.
Hell no.
It's fucking great. Also, wear this vest in case you get caught. I'm gonna blow you up.
Oh, well, yeah. Just remember, if you get caught, you just pull that little thread on your shirt pocket and you eat that little Flintstones chewable in there, and it's lights out.
Oh heck no, bro.
Tooth.
So in Lost Assassination, the assassin must be a fanatic of some sort. Politics, religion, and revenge are about the only feasible motives. So doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound like a lot of the shit that's been happening lately? Since a fanatic is unstable psychologically, he must be handled with extreme care. He must not know the identities of the other members of the organization, for although it is intended that he die in the act, something may go wrong.
What?
So, while the assassin of
Do you
Trotsky
know these terms as the assassin?
significant information, it is unsound to depend on this whether the act was planned. So they're afraid that like in these terroristic acts that the guy may get caught
Yeah,
and like may survive.
It's fair.
That's like an asset they send out in the field. They're like, hey, like you do it, we'll make you a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, well, so if you really believe in a lot of this CIA stuff and like the MK Ultra stuff that's happened, they're manufacturing these people to go out and do this. They're taking transients and they're drugging them up and splitting their personalities and sending them out to do this. They're mind controlling, troubled teenagers. If you like, one of my favorites is the GATE program, the Gifted and Talented Education from elementary schools, is a grooming program. Like I don't know how much I believe that, but
I purposely failed that. I purposely failed that test because I didn't want to leave my friends. Dang. Seriously, they called me out on it. So like, why all the wrong answers? I'm like, shit.
so
That's what I would say if I failed a test too, Bobby.
Believe
So I'm
me,
going to skip the planning stage, but I'll give you some of the techniques. It says the essential point of assassination is the death of the subject. A human may be killed in many ways, but sureness is often overlooked by those who may be emotionally unstrung by the seriousness of the act they intend to commit. The specific technique employed will depend on a large number of variables, but should be consistent in one point. Death must be absolutely certain. The attempt on Hitler's life failed because the conspiracy did not give this matter proper attention. So that tells you right there. They're out there trying to actively kill Hitler. Like,
Wasn't there one like explosion that was attempted and like the bomb blew up in the room Hitler was in, but the table slowed down some. Like there was an attempt on Hitler that was like near but very foiled.
yeah, I don't know. Probably. I mean,
It's just a movie I saw, and it's totally not.
I think there were a few actual ones.
It would make
it
sense.
was inspired
I
by
mean,
a true story.
we talked about on one episode. I talked about all the ones that they attempted on Castro with fucking poison wetsuits and exploding cigars and all that shit. So, it absolutely happens. But this was way before Castro. So this is the early, like the Hitler stuff is early years. That's the OSS. That's before the OSS. These guys are out there like test running all this stuff. They're beta testing being a spy. Which it's got to be rough.
I know. Imagine like not being sneaky or like incognito enough and just getting caught right by just getting killed. Oh fuck!
Tortured then killed, of course.
Yeah. So like even with like hiding and doing stuff covertly like that, they said guerrilla warfare like that was against the rules of engagement. So you can't do that. It had to be like heads up battle.
Oh,
like
like
your
face
guy
to
had
face,
see
like you
coming,
better be
you
a
have
man.
your guy coming, and those were the rules of engagement. So under techniques, it says manual. It is possible to kill a man with the bare hands, but very few are skillful enough to do it well. Even a highly trained judo expert will hesitate to risk killing by hand unless he absolutely has no alternative. However, the simplest local tools are often much more efficient means of assassination. A hammer, axe, wrench, screwdriver, fire poker, kitchen knife, lampstand, or anything hard, heavy, and handy will suffice. A length of rope or a wire or a belt will do just fine if the assassin is strong and agile. All such improvised weapons have the important advantage of availability and apparent innocence. The obviously lethal machine gun failed to kill Trotsky, where an item of sporting goods succeeded. In all safe cases where the assassin may be subject to search, either before or after the act, specialized weapons should not be used. Even in the lost case, the assassin may be accidentally be searched before the act and should not carry any incriminating device if any sort of lethal weapon can be improvised at or near the site. If the assassin normally carries weapons because of the nature of his job, it may still be desirable to improvise and implement at the scene to avoid disclosure of his identity. So what they're saying is, like, don't carry guns, like, make it happen on the spot. Like,
What the? So Q is just totally out of a job?
no, Q's most definitely in a job.
Okay. Oh, because he's
Like,
making people die from like pins
He's
and
the one
shit.
making the weapons that look super secret. So, I mean, you can go online, you can read this. It talks about making it look like an accident.
I always love the classic like umbrella with a poison BB in the tip.
So one of the ones they had, so the U.S. caught a Russian spy, back in like the 50s, and this guy had a pack of cigarettes that had like 4 cigarettes in it, but what you would do is it was actually a dart gun, and it would shoot a poison dart like 50 feet, and it would kill you. And they said when it fired, it was no louder than snapping your fingers.
Oh shit!
It's like in a crowded place, you couldn't hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, imagine being in a restaurant and seeing the person you're supposed to kill over there. And it's like, it's the 50s. Everybody smokes in a restaurant. Yeah. So you reach for your cigarettes, you pull one out, pull it out, put the thing up, you hit the lighter and hit the thing at the same time. Lighter goes, shh. Nobody hears the dart get fired.
Yeah, that's
bam,
crazy.
right to the neck of the guy that you need to kill. Mashed potatoes, and you're sitting there having a drink.
Just like, oh,
shaken, not stirred.
That dim.
Yes.
CIA improved on this, and they actually came out with what they called a heart attack gun, and it shot these little dissolving darts. They were like little crystal darts, and they would dissolve when they went into your skin, but it would basically give you a heart attack.
It's like the ice bullet.
Kind of. Basically. They said this thing was accurate up to 350 feet.
True.
It was a fucking pistol. So
And it shoots
I don't know.
disappearing bullets.
Yeah.
Also, you can edit this out if you want. I was just reading about 6 assassination attempts on Hitler.
Yeah.
And one took place. The last one in 1944 was a briefcase full of plastic explosives placed at a table that Hitler was sitting at. It exploded on time perfectly, but Hitler was able to escape with non-life-threatening injuries, and 4 people sitting at the table died.
My gosh.
Something was protecting that dude.
Yeah,
There's 5 other attempts, and they all failed, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot.
They all tried to blow him up, though. That was the thing. No one. Why not just?
Time cops stopped it, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're gonna have to get murdered for shooting him.
Well, all these dudes, besides this last one, were like, "I'm gonna explode myself," like, and just didn't because they couldn't get near Hitler.
So, like, but we know they have lost assassination attempts. So, why not, cut a guy's face so he's got the dueling scar, so he looks like a Nazi, and then dress him up like a Nazi so he really looks like a Nazi. And then teach him some German so he sounds like a Nazi, and then send him in there and be like, "My Führer, the Americans are close." And then when he's like, "What?" and he turns around, he's be like, "Pow!" And then you're done.
Yeah.
But look what you did.
Yeah. I mean, I know. I think if I recall, you said you hadn't seen it, but they do something similar in Inglourious Bastards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
The bar scene where they use like the German and then like the English actor who is pretending to be German.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, "Which part of Germany are you from?"
Yeah. Pitzpalu, the base of the mountain of Pitzpalu.
Yeah. So this thing talks about different types of firearms: submachine guns, shotguns, rifles, pistols.
It's like just shoot him in the head.
Well, I mean, so like under firearms, it says firearms are often used in assassination, often very ineffectively. The assassin usually has insufficient technical knowledge or the limitations of the weapon, and expects more range, accuracy, and killing power than can be provided with reliability. But since certainty of death is the major requirement, firearms should be used in which they can provide destructive power at least 100% in excess of that thought to be necessary. and ranges should be half that considered practical for the weapon. So if you got a gun that says, yeah, like anything from like you're good up to 25 feet, you're like, all right, 12 feet.
Yeah.
So you got to be 12 feet.
Always play it extra safe.
Yeah. So, it's obviously stuff like that, precision rifle up to 250 yards and stuff like that. It talks about edge weapons, blunt objects, drugs, in all types of assassination, except terroristic. Drugs can be very effective if the assassin is trained as a doctor or a nurse and the subject is under medical care. This is an easy and rare method. An overdose of morphine administered as a sedative will cause death without disturbance and is difficult to detect. The size of the
CIA
dose
Angel of Death?
Yeah.
Dang.
The size of the dose will depend on whether the subject has been using narcotics regularly. If not, 2 grams or 2 grains will suffice. So there you go. 2 grains of morphine is what it takes to kill a human, everybody.
Not if I do a bunch of heroin first.
This heroin's keeping me alive. Yeah, man, like this is available online. You can Google it. CIA Assassination Manual.
It's FOIA.
It talks about explosives. It talks about how to do it effectively. So yeah, if you want to be a CIA assassin, hey, look, there's some code at the bottom. That's cool. That'll be fun for those.
Do we ever talk about serial assassins?
Dude.
I kind of have something on the horizon similar in this. Oh well, man. Hey, thanks, Greg.
Yeah, Greggy.
Yeah, I know you were talking about Googling stuff and getting put on a watch list, man. Like, I know I'm there.
Probably.
You're probably there, bro. You're probably.
Well, we're all there if that list you sent recently or posted recently shows all the people that are on the watch list. It's like the word the.
Duh.
What?
It was that's a 10-year-old list.
Yeah.
They came out in 2009 and they were talking about all the words that would get you put on a watch list. And it was like, all the terroristic terms and stuff like that. I mean, I know even saying them right now, Google's picking them up. And
everyone's on the list. It's just
right. Well, see, and that's the thing. They use really basic words so everybody's on the list so they can look at everybody at once. And it's not like there's a guy sitting there who's like, ooh, they said,
yeah.
yep. But it's an algorithm, you know what I mean? And it'll pull up and it'll take a second look at it. And if it still seems fishy, it'll take a third look at it. And if it still seems fishy, it'll get a guy, and the guy has to look at it in context. And he's like, it's fine.
Yeah, they're chilling. They're just
Bomb.
Yeah, okay, they're talking about it.
Can't say bomb on an airplane.
What was the time I was like, yeah, I'm just going to say a bunch of terrorist shit. And I started saying a bunch of messed up terrorist stuff. And then I was like, now I know some guy's reading this. You're a fucking asshole.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So,
Akbar!
Yeah, great. See, this doesn't bode well for me because there's 3 of you guys in that room. Like,
we have alibis.
Yeah, we're chilling.
Yes.
Right, I'm by myself.
Yeah, I got an alibi. I could see him the whole time, Ossifer.
It's a cult alibi.
So yeah, that's all. You guys can look it up if you want to learn more about assassinations according to the CIA. Also, read Surprise, Kill, Vanish.
There you go.
To it.
There you go.
Plug. All right.
Yeah, Annie Jacobson.
Let's get back to it. George Waterfall, whatever his name is. George Russell is here. We're
Waterfall.
here. Yeah, come on. I'm just trying
Don't
not to
go
respect this
chasing
bitch.
waterfalls.
Yeah, we don't need to respect this guy.
Yeah. June 22nd, 1990, a woman named Marianne Polreich goes missing. She's 27 years old and had been raised in a conservative Christian family with very simple ideals.
Oh, she was a freak.
She was the eldest of 8 siblings and was a very smart child. Eventually, she would show interest in working in a newly booming industry, technology. She moves to Bellevue, Washington, and went to a technical school while working in a call center to make money and make ends meet. This night, she went out with some coworkers at a club called Papagayos, which is a very normal stop for them. One coworker from the Dead of Night documentary was very candid and mentioned how they didn't make a ton of money at the call center, so they would often pregame in the parking lot and sometimes even take breaks from the club to go out and have a much cheaper drink in the car than they could get in the club. So I can
Yeah,
appreciate
everybody does that.
Yeah,
He's not so special.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I can just appreciate them not going on Front Street and just being like, "Listen, we went out to the car like 6 times that night to take swigs of Smirnoff out of a fucking, or of Popov out of a plastic bottle."
Shit. White
Yeah,
Wolf.
plastic gallon.
Yeah.
White Wolf.
So, many times during the night, smaller parts of the larger group of friends would go out and get a few drinks from the car and come back in. At some point, Marianne had met up with another group of friends that she knew from the nightlife adventure. So she had like friends from going out in clubs in Bellevue, Washington, and she had like her work crowd who was like the people she went out with, but she would often run into others. Her work friends were calling it a night, and it was getting close to bars getting shut down, and they let Marianne know that they were going, but she decided to stay with her other friends and keep the party going. There isn't a ton known of Marianne after these friends said goodbye, and this worried one of Marianne's closer work friends because he knew that she had, she grew up in a smaller town, very Christian, and he said that she like loved the attention that she got from men, but was very naive to the fact that she was like not purposefully leading men on quite a bit. And the documentary, the detective in it, he's like, most men get denied and they walk away, and maybe some are a little embarrassed, but like that's the end of the story. He said people like George Russell never forgot it, like that was not something that he did. So the friend said that she would unknowingly lead guys on. This was a Friday night, and Saturday morning a body is found behind a restaurant only about a mile away. Question number 12. Behind what restaurant was Marianne's body found? Was it A,
The murders.
Denny's, B, Cattle Rustlers, C, Waffle House, or D, Black Angus? I know Waffle House seems like the obvious answer. Denny's, Cattle Rustlers, Waffle House, Black Angus.
I'm gonna say Denny's.
I'm also saying Denny's because I remember he got kicked out of somewhere like
Yeah, but
Denny's.
then he might think like they're not gonna expect me to go back to Denny's. Because I got kicked out there.
I'm not even allowed there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna sneak in. They won't even notice me.
All right, so the body is found by an employee taking the trash out for the last time that night around 3 a.m. at Black Angus. No points.
That's one of his jobs too.
So no points for anybody. Hunter's got 1,250 points. Bobby has 500 points.
I'll get up there. Don't worry. Second half.
Well, we also
boy.
have some kind of different questions coming up too. That'll be with some time and some ability to catch up.
I really like Cattle Rustlers because you can get what I like to call the poor man's creamsicle drink, and it's just orange. It's just orange juice and milk.
Isn't it creamer?
No, it's orange juice and milk.
Oh,
That's disgusting.
It doesn't sound too bad.
Don't knock it till you try it.
No,
I don't
we're
know,
not
knock
gonna do it. I feel like it would curdle when they hit one another. So the body they found behind the Black Angus has been posed with the legs crossed over the ankles and the hands are crossed to the chest. So it's a casket pose. There's an item left within the hands of Marianne Polreich. Question number 13. What was the item left in her hands? Is it A, a pine cone, B, a tennis ball, C, a highball glass, or D, her own keys? Pine cone, tennis ball, highball glass, her own keys. All right, you guys got it? What do you say, Bobby?
I said keys, my dude.
Keys.
I also said keys, man. Why you gotta
Dude, come on, bro. Come on, man. I'm trying to win.
Couple keys, couple incorrect answers. Because found within her
I feel like we're
hands.
just like literally shooting in the dark and we're just hitting it sometimes.
That's the idea of the show. Nobody should know these things. Found within her hands was a pine cone. So, additionally, her head was turned to the side, and her eyes were blocked with what appeared to be like a plastic, maybe yogurt lid or like to-go container lid.
Had the little Yoplait inspirational messages on it.
Reach for the stars.
Just try breathing.
I'm going to quit chasing my dreams. I'm just going to ask where they're headed and catch up with them later.
This one just says put them in a peaceful pose when you murder them.
That's a good idea.
So, additionally, she had the yogurt lid or plastic lid on her face. Even though you and I know that this is Marianne Polreich, she is initially not able to be identified. The break came on June 25th, 4 days later, when Mary Ann's roommate called her mother to ask if she had come home because she had not been to their apartment since the Friday that we just covered. The roommate and the mother agreed that they should call the police. Shortly after, the detectives show up at the mother's home and ask for permission to access the dental records of Mary Ann. This obviously worried her mother, but she was hoping that it would clear the body they had found as not being her daughter. Unfortunately for her, the wishful thinking was not enough, and the records proved to be Mary Ann's, and her mother was asked to identify the body for further proof. Police believe that Mary Ann had been beaten to death, but they don't believe that they found her where the murder had taken place. They believe that she had been dropped there. She had been beaten so severely that her liver had been lacerated.
Jesus.
At the time, they run a blood alcohol content test. She has no drugs in her system, but has an incredibly high blood alcohol content. They go back to the parking lot at Papagayos once they knew who she was, and they found her car had been left behind. Question number 14. What type of car was it? This is not multiple choice. If you can nail the make of the car, it's 500 points.
All right, you got it.
If you can nail the model of the car, it is 750 points. So it's possible 1,250 points.
Okay.
If someone is
Honestly.
able to nail both, I'll give them an opportunity to guess the year for a bonus 1,000 points. So there's a possible 2,250 points involved in this
already got it.
question. All right, Bobby, what kind of car was it?
Honda Civic.
Honda Civic?
You didn't say year?
Not yet. Don't give me a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I said Chevy Shelby. I don't know shit about cars. I hope that's the same.
Neither of those are correct.
Toyota
No
Camry.
points for anybody. It was a Toyota Corolla.
Damn it!
Oh my
son
God.
of a-
That was
I
too
I should have said
obvious.
Toyota Camry.
That
I'm
was
dumb
too
as fuck.
obvious.
So no points for anybody. It is
Damn.
still 500 to 1,250 coming down the line. A 1984 Toyota Corolla.
I'm gonna have to come back. That would have been my comeback.
That would have been a good 500, Bobby. You would have been at 1,000 to 1,250.
You know what? We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this, guys.
Okay.
Channel your guys' energy.
So there was a man that Mary Ann was dating in secret that only a few of her very closest friends knew about. These few people immediately came forward and told police about this man named Damon. It would take only a few days, but eventually they were able to track down Damon, and he had an airtight alibi. The police were working very hard on this particular case when, on August 9th, 1990, the body of Carol Bleeth, a 35-year-old single mother of two, was found by her 13-year-old daughter. Her 13-year-old daughter was very helpful around the house and woke up the Saturday morning, did dishes, vacuumed, and took the trash out. When she took the trash out, that's when she realized that her mother's car was still in the driveway and she had not gone to work. She didn't think much about this because she went and knocked on her mom's door and didn't get an answer and just figured she had the day off or she was sleeping or, just something. She went and watched one episode of a TV show and still had a very uneasy feeling about all of that. So
Did
she
you
goes
see?
around. She goes around to the sliding glass door and finds it open and unlocked. She goes through the door, and inside she finds her mother, who had been killed. Carol had been severely beaten, posed once more, and had a .22 caliber long rifle she kept under her bed shoved deep into her vagina. Her head was also wrapped in plastic, according to some reports. Police arrive and they immediately realize how similar this murder scene was to the one in which Mary Ann was found behind the Black Angus. The body has been posed. It's very peculiar to have these just a couple days apart, a couple miles apart.
Oh hell.
The only thing the only things detectives noted were different was that Carol had been posed to humiliate her, and there seemed to be a dignity to the way that Mary Ann had been left in pose. It appeared as if someone had slipped into the home at night through the open door, likely the sliding glass door that Carol's daughter had entered through, and she was likely struck the first time in the head before she ever knew that someone was there. So there was the fucking blitzkrieg.
I hope that's like how it is, because that just sucked to deal with, yo.
Besides being posed, she was likely never able to get out of her bed before George had killed her. Her daughter, even more confused by this, because in a nearby backyard, neighborhood kids were camping out, and a friend of her own had come to her window at 4:15 a.m. So, it was an active house.
Yeah, it was like
the
things
kids
were
in the
happening.
neighbor. There was 6 kids in the backyard, right behind. Her friend, was
The
out
bag
running
of the head
around.
probably was the silencer.
So she remembers it was about 4:15 that morning when she saw her friend at the window who she talked to. Before she goes back to sleep, she remembers about 15 minutes later seeing a flashlight shine into her room, her sister's room, and into her bathroom. She assumed it was one of the neighborhood kids or her mom's boyfriend, who had actually been out of town and had a solid alibi at the time. On August 31st, 1990, a third victim is killed named Andrea Randy Levine. We'll just call her Randy from now on. She is a 24-year-old who lives by herself in a basement apartment that she rented from an older couple. Randy was a self-proclaimed party animal and loved the Bellevue nightlife scene. It had been a few days since the landlords had seen her, and they were accustomed to seeing her multiple times a day, most days. The wife landlord went down to the apartment when they began to smell a foul smell emanating from the basement apartment. The woman goes down the small hall and looks into the bedroom where she and sees what she appears to be a large amount of blood. She pulls back the sheets, and under it is a severely beaten Randy who appears to have several cuts all over her, and she has been posed as well. In addition to this, her skull is crushed in, and she has an electric sex toy shoved down her throat. Lastly, the book More Joy of Sex is placed in her left hand. When police arrived, they noted that the wounds on her are not stab wounds, they are individual cuts made by an unidentified object, most likely a knife. Question number 15. How many of these cuts did they locate on the body of Randy? It's 250 points to the closest, 1,000 if you can nail it. How many cuts did they find on her? Bobby, what do you say?
3.
3 for Bobby, 17 for Hunter. Hunter's going to get the points because they found on her
I need to kill me.
an individual cut count of 236.
Oh my gosh.
So
I thought he was
1,500
marking his
now for
kills.
Hunter. Yeah, I believe they call that Piquerism. Repeated small cuts, or like people who do like repeated small, shallow stabbing. Yeah. Randy is also posed into the sheets in a very similar fashion to that of Carol. Besides being posed, the only thing that connects these women is that they have spent a decent amount of time in the Bellevue nightlife scene. So again, at this time, both Marianne and Carol's significant others have been cleared of any wrongdoing, and the police begin to really stake out nightclubs and ask a lot of questions. Investigators also called in an expert in sexualized crime who said that the murders were the work of one man. Although the expert said the serial killer would be a young white male, police zeroed in on Russell, knowing his history, who was a black male but had grown up in a white upper middle class neighborhood and his whole life had, quote, acted white. The challenge of the investigation and the subsequent trial was connecting Russell to all 3 victims. They find that the night that Marianne went missing, a regular patron complained to Papagayo's bouncer and off-duty police officer that he had given George the keys to his vehicle for a minute so that George could go out and change. George had just gotten off work and didn't like that he was in a t-shirt, so he wanted a collared shirt on.
Yeah.
And he told his buddy who had the super fucking nice Toyota 4Runner, and this guy's the guy who he spends a couple nights a week detailing his car, it's just always shiny, it's always perfect. This guy did not let people borrow his car and shit. So George is let me just, come on man, I just want to get on a collared shirt, I got my gym bag, I just want to go change out there, I don't want to do it here, and then I'll leave my bag in your truck and everything's good. So this guy tells the bouncer cop, hey, I let him do that, but I haven't, that was at 10 and it's 3 a.m. now, and this guy's not back. So the bouncer cop tells the man that he can call it in, but he really should do it himself. He's I'm not really a cop right now, and if you know the guy, this is call it in. So before he could report his friend, it was returned early the next afternoon, fully detailed with a full tank of gas.
The signature move.
That's his motive right there.
The man who had borrowed the vehicle was, of course, George Waterfield Russell. The police remembered. God fucking damn it. The police remember George from all the crimes that he had done, the minor crimes, but, they still remember him. He's in and out of jail, and he was also be able to get in and out of places undetected. They asked George's friend if they can search his vehicle, and he agrees because he himself doesn't want any type of trouble if that's what George is involved in. Police take the vehicle and can see areas where the cleaning had been done most heavily and where there were small stains that had not been cleaned out properly. They pull the upholstery up in the seat and the floor and use luminol to discover the fact that there was blood under the floor of the carpet. The blood has already been matched to that of Marianne's blood type before they even go in and ask questions. They also find fibers in the vehicle that match some of that were found on Marianne's body. George is brought in for questioning, and since his entire life he has been able to talk his way out of everything, in the questioning he lets slip that he did indeed see Marianne the night that she had gone missing. Furthermore, he mentioned that he knew Randy Levine and had before been to her basement apartment. George is shown the evidence, and the police have including evidence that is pre-DNA. But they're still, they can match some things. This is solid DNA. Question number 16. The test will show that he is a part of the population that could have committed the crime due to matching his blood type and other attributes. What percentage of the population does he belong to that could have committed this crime? So it's 0 to 100. There's a sect of the population that could have committed this crime based on blood type, whatever, how they did it, pre-DNA. 250 points to the closest, 1,000 points if you can nail it. What percentage of people could have committed the crime? So it's obviously, right? Like, it feels like it's got to be small. Or else the case isn't going to be very good. But maybe
Also,
just the case wasn't very good.
Don't stop that.
I looked up.
I know what you're doing, Jesse.
I looked up Piquerism.
Am I on the right path?
From the French, piquer to
Stay true,
prick
Bobby.
is a sexual interest in penetrating the skin of another person with sharp objects such as pins, razors, knives, etc. Sometimes this is serious enough to cause extreme injuries or even death. Piquerism is a paraphilia as well as a form of sadism.
Well, there you go.
Zam.
Okay, what percentage of the population could have committed this crime? Hunter.
0.027%.
0.027.
I said 0.3%, but should have put 1%.
So 0.3
Yeah.
and 0.27.
Yeah.
Bobby's going to get the points because he was part of a population of 4%
Oh my
Damn
God.
it!
that could have done this crime. So 4% of the world could have committed this crime.
Got it.
For you,
You got the points, Bobby.
but I made this for you.
Oh, thank you.
It's a Rick.
It's very Rick.
It's a tiny Rick.
Tiny Rick.
Tiny
Look
Rick.
at there's a tiny Rick right there too.
Where is Greg?
Let me out. Let me out. This is not a joke. I'm begging for help. I'm screaming for help.
Please just.
I'm dying in a vat in the garage.
Yeah, Johnny Brick.
The dance got me.
All right, so Bobby's got 750. Hunter's got 1,500. Let me take a look here.
Can I make it?
Okay, check it out. There is a stabbing question.
Okay.
So yes, already. And then there is one multiple choice after that. So you really need to nail it to win.
All right.
That's got to have to happen.
Okay.
So when we get there, you need to nail the next question to win. Hunter, you're looking pretty good, dude.
All right.
You're not completely out of the woods, but you're
I
looking
agree.
pretty good.
I like that tie-dye shirt.
Thank you. I made it myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Now I like it more.
Yeah.
Okay, so the tests show that he is a part of only 4% of the population that could have done it. Semen found in Marianne Polreich matched Russell's blood type as well. Hair found at all three bodies proved to be that of an African-American male. Eventually, Russell was tied to the missing rings from the bodies Caroline Bleeth and Randy Levine. So there were rings stolen from the scene of the crime at both of those, and they find both of those in his possession.
It's like, bro, it's kind of.
Yeah, no, I just got these from like a guy. I didn't steal them. I bought them.
Got him at a pawn shop. Hello.
I just happened to buy 3 rings from dead people.
Police officially arrest him on January 10th, 1991, and a trial begins. And during Russell's trial, the prosecution, who consisted of Rebecca Rowe and Jeffrey Baird, succeeded in admitting into evidence the controversial DNA tests for the hairs, semen, and bloodstains. But winning a conviction rested on moving beyond circumstantial evidence and convincing jurors that the degrading pose of all three bodies constituted the unique signature of a sociopathic killer. Both the prosecution and defense, whom was made up of Miriam Schwartz and Brad Hampton, brought experts in sexual homicide and behavioral profiling to the stand. John Douglas, the famous FBI behavioralist, testified that the found a common denominator in the way the victims were penetrated vaginally, anally, or orally with some type of device or foreign object. He also said that the close time frame of the murders pointed to one perpetrator. Russell Vorpagel, a respected 20-year FBI veteran, now private investigator, disagreed. He claimed that there were too many differences in the way the women were killed, degraded, and posed to have been the work of one person. He said that Polreich's body was posed peacefully, Bleeth's body was not raped, and a woman could have been the killer. He said that the odd stab wounds on Levine's body separated her murder completely from the others, while the prosecution said that this was just likely escalation and that the first murder of Marianne Polreich had awakened something in Russell, and he only continued to grow more sinister.
Nice fucking job, Vorpagel.
Right.
You missed the mark so goddamn far. Like so far. Like, I mean, I get it. It's not that shit's not a science, except to the people who are good at it.
Exactly. Like the people who are good at it know what they say.
Yeah.
Already what the other side is going to say.
Damn.
And if you don't, that's when you lost. I feel like I'm not a lawyer, but
No, dude, it's crazy in the courtroom, bro.
yeah. Okay. So Russell's lawyers emphasized the possibility of the wrong man being accused. They hinted that the ex-husbands or ex-boyfriends were responsible, not the friendly guy at the defense table that the court was looking at. However, if you'll remember, both men had been cleared. Russell smartly dressed in navy sports coats, gray slacks, and a white shirt and tie, and appeared alternately bored and bemused with the case, and never took the stand. The jury got all of its evidence and final statements and goes back to deliberate. Question number 17. For how many hours did the jurors deliberate? Bobby, you need to nail this for any possibility of a win. Because there's still one more after this. So, like, if you nail this and take a lead, and then Hunter gets the next one right,
How
you
many
get it wrong.
hours?
How many hours did they deliberate?
And it's hours.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said it that way if it weren't.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I like to be tricky, but I don't like to fuck you over.
I'm just like 5 minutes and he's correct. All right.
Oh, I'm so nervous right now.
Good luck.
Okay. Hunter said 37, which I can tell you is not the nailed answer. Okay, I'm not saying you didn't get the points, but you didn't nail it.
Oh,
Bobby, you need to nail it to win it.
Dude,
What did you say?
dude, it's no. I hella fucked up.
What'd you say?
I said 1 hour
1 hour.
because they saw the evidence. They're like, dude, this guy's obviously guilty.
It's very possible.
And they're like, we already got.
Dang, wait, hold on. Did you say an hour?
Yeah,
They have as much time as they want to deliberate it, though, really.
I know I messed up. Can I read it?
I'll let Hunter decide if you want to read.
Oh.
Because listen, it's really his victory, and I know that you guys are good enough friends that he's just not going to give it to you for no reason. He already gave you the last cold water.
I will.
You did already. Let's go.
You say you're gonna.
I will allow it.
He's gonna allow you to
In this
change your
courtroom.
answer from 1 hour.
This is intense. Thank you, actually, for. Can we shake? First? Okay.
I mean, we're friends, so.
Okay.
Remember. Okay.
A weird left-handed shake just took place in front of me.
Oh, I thought it just because it was on webcam. Okay.
No, it was lagging in real life, too.
Hunter has
Okay.
allowed his good friend Bobby.
24 hours.
Bobby's going to say 24 hours. Bobby does get the points. However, Bobby did not nail the question. So we'll put Bobby up to 1,000 points. Hunter at 1,500.
Damn.
Congratulations, Hunter. You're going to walk away a winner.
Good job, buddy.
All right.
Bobby, you were very close. The jury
Oh.
deliberated.
Oh.
Wait, can't Bobby stab on the last one?
Can we make it a stab? Come on, man. I'll do anything. man.
I'm just asking. I mean, I'm not trying to change the rules
Come
or
on, let's
anything
hit
like
it great,
that.
man.
I'm just curious.
He just wants to smoke. Come on,
I'm going to just go with no, just because I didn't write it that way. I don't like to change things up
That's
last
real. I
second. As
understand
much as
it.
I like to give somebody the opportunity.
It's cool, though. I feel it. I lost. I'll take my defeat with, wait, was it pride?
Wait till you hear this. The jury deliberated for 22 hours.
I'm done.
The jury returned verdicts of guilty,
This is the moment I become a serial killer.
first-degree murder of Polreich, and aggravated first-degree murder in the cases of Bleeth and Levine. Judge Patricia Aitken sentenced Russell to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Jurors later told reporters that there had been little disagreement that Russell was the lone killer. They had just taken a long time to discuss every bizarre fact of the case. on October. They're like, when are we ever going to have access to this case file again?
Dude, did you guys see this right here? Look at this. This is nuts.
On October 10th, 1991, he is officially charged with the first-degree murder in the Polwright case, and on October 25th, he is convicted to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Question number 18, the last. What year did George Waterfield Russell die? Is it A, 1994, B, 1999, C, 2006, D, 2011, E, 2017, F, 2019, or G, still alive? 94, 99, 06, 11, 17, 19, still kicking.
Question.
Yeah.
What happens if, and I'm not saying this is the answer, but what happens if he's still alive, but then he dies like in November? The answer becomes F.
Since it has no bearing in the outcome of this episode, I'll say that I will throw the extra 250 points onto someone's board if that happens.
There you go.
All right, I was just curious.
Hell yeah.
All right, Father Time.
Okay, what do we got, boys? Hunter says still alive. Bobby said.
I'm going to 2019. I feel like he probably croaked this year. He was like, oh, shit.
That's why the story is fresh in my mind.
Yeah, maybe he's like, yeah, I had a vision that you was like, yeah, this dude died this year, so good shit, this fuckface is not around anymore.
That is a terrible vision. 250 points for Hunter.
I hate to do it to you, but
1750.
yeah, cut all of the points.
So 1,000.
Damn, it's always still alive. I know this because I'm.
That's why I didn't put a stab on this one, because I had a few stabs before this and was like, man, everybody, like, Paul has like made it a motto, like, it's always still alive. So, it's getting tough to make that a question when it's like.
That's why I asked, because I remembered at one point you could do that, where you could just stab on multiple choice questions if you ask.
Yeah, the show has evolved in many ways. When people ask for rules a lot, I'm like, yeah, I change them all the time though. So like, if I sent you rules, it wouldn't be the same.
That's
like,
real. That's real.
Just it's house rules, man.
That's right.
That's
whatever
what I
mood
do.
I'm in, whatever rules I can remember.
So yeah, George Waterfall Russell still hanging around, man.
Still chilling, hiding in like what vents and shit at the prison or what?
Yep, just doing the damn thing. Never gonna be out. He was deemed the first serial killer case in the state of Washington.
Oh,
so
I mean, that's something to really be proud of.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much everything. Congratulations again to Hunter. What I'm going to let you do now is take a victory lap. If there's anything you'd like to talk about, anybody you'd like to say hi to, anything like that, now is your time.
Do it, bro.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I would just like you to say thank you for listening, first of all. Don't forget to look at the stars every now and then and just dream and wonder about how things could have been,
I like that. I like that.
Oh my gosh.
Sending off with parting words of wisdom and with that deep, sultry voice. He's going to take over Bobby's spot as the new favorite voice.
Damn. Taking my win and my name.
Bobby,
take everything.
Take a loser's lap.
Here's my loser's lab. So I guess I have an Instagram. I guess I have a TikTok. I guess I have other platforms. All of them lose. It's kind of just a thing that I like to just do. Nothing's big, but if you want to check it out, you can.
If you're into sad boys.
Yeah, I put on black mascara too sometimes. You can view it on a private Patreon.
You're about to disappoint a lot of people.
No, guys, check me out. I'm around. And if you're around, please say hi. If you don't be afraid to hit me up on Instagram. Don't be afraid to hit me up in any messages. I do not find any of that creepy.
Didn't you say somebody recognized you?
Yeah, dude, it was super, super intense and super sick, and I just love everything.
Bobby got recognized before either of us did from the show.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I've never been recognized.
You never leave the
fuck is
bunker.
that?
You never leave the bunker.
That's his voice.
That's because you never leave the bunker and I live in Fresno.
It's wild, bro. But yeah, check it out, guys, at _B3R_. And I'm coming back for another win one day. So
yep, we'll be here, man.
Way more humbled.
Season 5 keeps on rolling. Hella Greg, is there anything you'd like to share with us on the way out this fine evening?
At Hella Greg on all your favorite social medias.
Why'd he go boy band with his facial expression when that happened?
What does that even mean?
He's like, he would like, like.
I don't know, because I'm proud of the things that I'm saying and doing.
Ooh.
There you go.
Also, I don't know, look up that CIA Assassination Manual. Just realize that these people were given authority to kill based on one person's whim. That's weird.
Damn.
That doesn't seem like
That's weird.
that doesn't seem cool. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't seem okay.
I'm
It
not
just-
really
that
feeling
makes
this
me
guy
feel icky.
today.
Like I feel like even like that hypothetical where people are like, okay, you push a button and somebody dies, but you get $1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh,
do
it's
you
only
push the
$1,000
button?
now, man. It used to be like $1 million.
I know. I mean, we're not making it how it is.
The economy
1,000,
has
that doesn't
changed.
seem
Okay.
worth it.
Okay, fine. $1 million. Do you push the button?
Who is it?
You don't get to know. You just
You
know
don't get.
that
Yeah, you
killed
don't get to
somebody.
know, but
Yeah.
somebody somewhere dies.
Nah, I wouldn't do it.
In the movies, it's usually someone related to you. Or like
Yeah,
your
see, I'm saying
friend
that's
or
what I'm saying too.
I was
Like,
gonna
but
say
why I
that's
don't want
the
that
classic
karma?
monkey paw thing where
Yeah.
like it's always somebody
Yeah.
related to you. But who knows, man? It could be like a doctor. I don't know.
If it's that rowdy kid and then down the
It
neighborhood
could just
street,
be like a terrible world leader. You never know.
that would be
Yeah.
dope. I would
Kim
push that
Jong-un.
so quickly.
Suddenly has a heart attack.
But then again,
Somebody pushed the button and Osama bin Laden dropped dead, and that Navy SEAL was like,
Oh.
"Got him."
takes the credit.
he's like, wait, who stole my kill?
No, we're dump him in the ocean before somebody realizes there aren't any bullet holes.
Did I at least get the assist? All right. Well, thank you guys for coming and hanging out at the Super Network Studio. Thank you, Hella Greg, for doing everything that you do. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. So thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Hunter. Thank you, Hella Greg. Thank you, everybody, for listening to episode 102 of the Serial Chillers podcast. And remember, don't talk to strangers.
You're having ants in the episode.
102.
Yeah. Like it was never 90.
This has been another presentation from Super Network.